Welcome back, everyone. Joe, Mike, and Granger. I hope I said it right because it literally just you told me how to say it and then I forgot.
You
But I hope
got it.
I got it right. Joe, Mike, and Granger, buildassetsonline.com. Mike, you brought this up off the air before we started, but last episode we talked about what you can expect, realistic results, expectations within your first year of doing high ticket dropshipping. And we have Granger here, who has basically just hit us with his first year results, and they're pretty impressive. And I feel like everything we talked about last episode is really coming into you could see how true it is based on how this episode is going to go. What do you think about that?
I think that's very true. And yeah, we didn't even plan it out like this, but this is just how it goes. So welcome to the show, Granger. How you doing today?
Doing well, guys. Glad to be on. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah. So you've been around a while, kind of lurking in the shadows, and I'm gonna keep going back to this episode we did last week because it's very important. People are gonna read the thumbnail and they're gonna say, okay, 1 million in sales and get that.
I'm pulling up his. I'm pulling up his sales.
I thought you were doing it. Anyway, they're gonna read. They're gonna see over 1 million sales in 12 months. And we give a very important context for realistic results when people start drop shipping. And you've done a lot of things leading up to these results. So why don't you take us through, you were born and ever since then, what happened to get to here?
Yeah, man, born. That was a long time ago. I'm turning into an old ass man.
You don't have to go that early, but
So I had a pretty traditional sort of schooling route. I got a job at a oil trading company in Houston out of school, and to make a long story short, I was just banging my head against the wall every day. Hated it, didn't want to do it, and kind of started looking into ways to make money online, and got started dabbling my feet in Amazon FBA, building content sites, things of that nature, and started getting the hang of it. And it's kind of evolved, and I've been doing it full time for about 2 years now. With dropshipping specifically, I joined y'all's course. I think we were talking about it. I think it was in 2019. So whenever the instant e-commerce asset course was newer, and created a store. It was selling like pool tables and air hockey tables and things like that, and it was a total disaster. Got kicked off of Shopify for processing an over-the-phone payment the wrong way, and so kind of tabled high-ticket dropshipping for a bit, and really caught my groove building content sites, which I know you guys, I know Joe especially, you do as well. So yeah, I was building this content site and had it up. It was getting over 100,000 visits a month pretty easily in a niche. And I was referring a whole bunch of sales. Like I referred over $1 million in sales to a particular online retailer that was not Amazon. And I was just kind of thinking to myself that I had y'all's course in the back of my mind, right? Because a lot of the products that I was referring sales for, these brands had opportunities to become a dealer and things like this. And so I thought of you guys and came back, bought some coaching calls, and started the store really last October, started running ads in November, and there's the chart of what it's done so far.
What kind of commissions were you getting with this affiliate program in terms of percentage, and how does that compare to the percentage you're making now as a dealer?
Yeah, so it was 6. I was getting 6%. Their base rate was 4%, so we were doing enough volume that we got a little something extra, but it was 6%. And as a dealer, it obviously varies by brand, but on average, the gross margins are, I would say, 35% overall.
Whoa.
Then obviously you take shipping out. Net earnings is like 12%, call it. So double.
And do you find that so one of the big advantages of having your own store versus the blog is obviously with the blog only and relying on affiliate commissions, you're kind of reliant on their cookie and then capturing the cookie. And I don't know if this is something you've noticed with the store, is that we find that it's hard to track where sales are even coming from a lot of the time. So, someone could hit a blog post from their phone when they're on the train or something, and then type the site in later into the browser and then buy then. So have you found that there's kind of like anything you can identify in terms of how that compares to affiliate?
I think there's just like less things that need to go right on a dropshipping store to make money. You know what I mean? And on a similar note, like with the affiliate stuff, someone could clear their browser cache and your cookie's gone.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way I understand it, at least. And so you just have a little more control, and you can, like, the earnings per user is a lot higher too. Like you're making more money with less traffic.
Right.
And so I think inherently that just kind of, there's just less stuff that has to go right for making.
So it's
to rephrase Joe's question, I think what he was trying to get at was, you say you were making 6% with the affiliate versus, I mean, I know your margins are pretty good here, and you're taking into account like shipping. Are you taking into account like ad costs too when you say 12%?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. You're getting organic sales too, but I think what Joe was trying to ask was, are you noticing you're getting more sales with the same traffic because someone clicks something, and then like with the affiliate relationship, someone clicks a link and then the cookie isn't tracked, and so you never get a sale, versus with selling it yourself, it doesn't really matter the tracking because they're going to come to your website, they're going to buy something, and that's all that matters. Is that what you're getting at, Joe?
Yeah, I think he kind of answered it. That's another way to phrase it, but he basically said that his earnings per visitor is higher. So I think that's the ultimate question.
Yeah.
And you'd say that's the case now, right? Because it's not just the margin, it's the earnings per visitor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I'm trying to bring this back down to earth for people who aren't as familiar with SEO. So, you guys are kind of talking about, we've dabbled around with this where you can get into affiliate programs with like Wayfair or something, and then they give you 5%, right? But you get that 5% if someone clicks from your website to Wayfair and then they buy with the cookie active in 30 days. But Granger, you're saying there's so many things that can go wrong there. Someone could be on their phone and then they go back to their browser, or, even like you're saying, they clear their cookies. All those things would stop you from getting the commission. Or a phone sale. I don't know if that happens on Wayfair, but surely that happens on other websites. So when you have your own site, it's kind of your own internal infrastructure where it doesn't matter if someone lands on your website organically on their phone and then they come back on a totally different computer and they go, directly to your website there, something that can't really be tracked. Or if they call you, it's almost impossible to track that with an affiliate relationship, versus when you own the racetrack, as it were, it doesn't matter where it's coming from or the different pathways it took to get to the sale. All that matters is that you got the sale.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you can kind of think about user experience too, right? Like if someone's Googling best toaster and a blog shows up, right? Get familiar with your site. Who are these people, and do they know what they're talking about? Then they click an affiliate link and they have to get comfortable with, a retailer that you're referring them to, assuming it's not Amazon, I guess. But there's just extra steps versus like I just think it's a little more powerful on an e-commerce store, right? So the person shows up looking for best toaster, you give a nice, piece of value add content, and then, oh, by the way, we sell toasters. And I just think it's just a little less friction.
Absolutely. I think the two things really feed into each other well on a lot of different aspects. Like one of the things that I believe is a big reason you had so much success in the niche that you're in, it's actually pretty competitive. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you're able to leverage your content site to go after some of the best suppliers in the space and say, look, I already have this authority. We rank for this, this, and that. And it gave you that extra bit of clout to get in with some of these companies that probably wouldn't have let you in if you were just a Joe Schmo starting from zero.
Yeah, I think that's for sure true. And part of it is just like I kind of knew what the industry lingo was, and I think that definitely helped. And a lot of the products I sell go through distributors that are that are geographically constrained, and so they're not used to like the online drop shipping kind of stuff per se. And so I think coming at it from like, hey, I kind of know the industry and whatnot, I think definitely got me at least one or two relationships that I might not have otherwise.
Yeah, and that's a big aspect. I remember when we were doing a couple coaching calls, we were looking at like some of the other brands that were selling your stuff, and it wasn't a lot of, again, just like a drop shipping store you could tell was put together poorly, and it's not a very experienced drop shipper. It was like you and then a bunch of kind of heavy hitter stores.
Yeah.
And so you got in with a lot of good suppliers. You talk about having margins that's 35%, which again is typically reserved for only the most exclusive retailers.
Yeah.
So I just want to say something real quick, Mike. Granger, this is the first time I've seen your blog before. You did a bunch of coaching calls with Mike, but I never actually. The funny thing is, I've never actually looked at your drop shipping site, and I'm looking at it now, and it's amazing how we've basically, besides for you having the course, I feel like we've basically provided you with zero guidance. You took the course. You didn't really have many questions for us. You got this site up, and everything's up and running. You did $1 million in sales your first year. Yeah. That is very impressive. And I want to say, I guess it's impressive because it amazes me the types of questions that a lot of people have, but it's reaffirming for me to know that someone could take the course and just do what you've done. Because when people ask questions that I feel are covered in the course, it makes me doubt myself sometimes. But it's great when we see students, they don't ask us anything. They just execute. And this is exactly what happens.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's that's good praise. I guess the caveat I would add to that is I definitely cut my teeth, probably more so in WordPress than Shopify, but like I base, especially on this screenshot we're looking at, this dropshipping store, I kind of came to the table with a lot of, like, I don't have any questions about, setting up things and, like everything you guys teach in the course, I get it. And I'm like, all right, boom, it's all about just like taking action and doing it. And so from that perspective, I think y'all's course is great, not just for, total beginners, but for people like me too, where it's like, I have, some degree of acumen and I just need to be pointed in the right direction on, a proven strategy and framework that, I can go execute on.
Well, I think that's the big difference, right? Because if someone has never done anything online to make money before, there's going to be so many factors that go into their first year's results. It's like they don't know how to use Shopify and even create a website. They don't know what it takes to, make their first dollar, even like mentally. So the fact that you already did a bunch of those things, and I want to get into like your Amazon experience and stuff like that, but the fact that you did those things made it so much easier when it came down to implementing the course. Because number one, you knew in your head that making money online was real. You knew how to create a website. You had a website that was making money already in the niche that you're in, and so the pieces fell together a lot easier. Have you run Google Ads before the course or no?
Not really, to be honest with you. I mean, I'd done, PPC on Amazon and some Facebook stuff, but not. I was definitely learning things in the ads module for sure.
So, do you feel like there is a big difference in terms of like, do you know how much of your sales are coming from organic or coming from paid?
Yeah. So the last 6 months, it's here, I can pull it up. It's like roughly 20% of revenue is attributed to a first user medium of organic. So 20%.
20% is attributed to first user organic.
And I would add there too, like I hit SEO from day one because I knew how powerful it could be because of my content site. Like that was kind of the play from the beginning. I was like, well, I know that, y'all's Google Ads framework, I can, get some cash flow and get some sales right away, but I'm going to start playing the long game from day one. And yeah, so that I'm happy with where that's at for how young the site is.
Well, speaking of taking the long game, as we've talked about many times on the show, SEO obviously has its ups and downs. And there was a recent Google update which affected a couple of our sites. One of our big blog sites got pretty impacted, and so did your original content site. And so looking at this, I'm trying to just kind of go back in time here for a second. So do you remember when that update first hit your content site? And when I say update hit the content site, I'm saying there was big drops in traffic. So you went
the day all my traffic went away. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in
May.
It was May, yeah.
So what's amazing here is that your content site that got your dropshipping store kind of off the ground took I don't want to say a nosedive, but had huge losses in traffic around May, yet your dropshipping store is still growing. So, we talk about this all the time. There's a reason why we push high ticket dropshipping as the best business model, not because it's the most successful one we've done, and it's not the first one that we've done, obviously, but it's because we've been through these ups and downs with everything, with Amazon, with blog sites. But I think the proof is in the pudding right here that you just have so many advantages with high ticket dropshipping that you're able to weather these, things like you're leveraging the most powerful thing, which is high intent search traffic, but you have a built-in immunity from basically the bane of all SEO's existence, which is these Google updates.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would add to that too. Like, if this is a total hypothetical, but like, if something happened to your store that the domain just got totally fried and you had to start over, like you can make the same store on another domain and have it up and running in a month and just be running the same, like versus a blog or a content site. I mean, so much of ranking and being able to earn has to do with how old your domain is and your domain authority. Yeah. And so I totally agree with what you just said.
And this is just a hypothetical of mine. You can tell me what you think of this theory. So I've noticed you've also started to rank content on your dropshipping site itself, which is a good thing. And in my opinion, an e-commerce store like this is way more resistant to Google updates because you have a lot of built-in trust factors to Google. Like you're paying them to run ads. So off the bat, they're viewing you as a real business compared to any random Joe Schmo blog. So that's like one thing. You have a phone number. You have all these things on your website. Sometimes you might even have a GMB. You have all these things on your website that Google could be hypothetically using to verify that this is a trusted source compared to other websites, compared to any random blog that anyone is going to put up that doesn't have the e-commerce aspect. That's just a theory of mine. I don't know if it's true, but we've definitely, been pretty resistant on our e-commerce stores in terms of SEO.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think also like on the affiliate note, I mean, the links ultimately point to retailers, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. It's like hard to quantify, but I'm with you. Like in my head, it seems that's ultimately what Google is sort of funneling people to do, is to buy things, and then so that advertisers continue to spend and things like that.
Yeah. And on top of that, you talked about how someone may go to a website for like a toaster, and it's just a blog site with, 5 best toasters, and it's linking out. On the flip side, someone may come to your website from an ad, and they may be going around your website and they see all the blogs that you have. And so even though it's not ranking organically and maybe it didn't bring in traffic, the articles on your website serve to create authority, not just with Google, but with the customer, because they see you're putting out content, and it just makes you seem more trustworthy. It makes it seem like there's real people working there, and you're helping people make a buying decision. So it's just, there's so many multifaceted ways that having the blog posts and the SEO funnel together with the paid traffic. And even though you could say, okay, only 20% of the visitors came from organic, you don't know how many of the paid people looked at organic stuff, and that led to a purchasing decision.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you guys know, it all stacks on top of each other, and
Yep.
Yeah.
So, did you have a little bit of resistance to creating a dropshipping site, because it sounds like the things that you were doing were very like disconnected from the customer? You were doing Amazon FBA, you're doing Amazon affiliate content sites, so you're never actually interacting with a customer there. I see you smirking. So
yeah, it's funny
what do you
you
have to say about that?
It's funny you say it that way. I think I'm an introvert by nature, and I hate talking to customers. I just hate it so much. And so I think that's a thing that I've been like working on and kind of getting over. And I also don't have to actually talk to customers, right? There's we hire people to do that, but I kind of had this inherent anxiety about customers, and it was probably rooted in just like when I internalize other people's like bad experiences. And so it, like, when someone had a bad experience with my store, that like would affect me on some level personally. And so I've like gotten over that, but I think that's why it took me so long to sort of venture into e-commerce and high ticket dropshipping type of stuff specifically, is because subconsciously I didn't want to talk to people.
Right. So what got you over the hump to be like, all right, I'll deal with this, I'll talk to people?
I think at some level it's just like I'm not gonna get any better or I'm not gonna get where I want to go if I'm letting something like this sort of hold me back from taking action.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a big reason for a lot of bloggers. They want to be behind the scenes, just it's exactly like you're saying. They don't want to be interacting with customers, and they have a lot of aversion to it. But we talk about the difference in earnings and the difference in earnings per 1,000 visitors. It's just insane. Like if we look at the revenue we get per 1,000 visitors on our our SEO based dropshipping stores versus just a regular blog site, it's not even comparable. What would you say it is, Joe? 10x, 100x?
Oh, probably. I mean, per visitor, probably 100, 1,000, maybe. I don't know. I would just be guessing, but it's pretty drastic.
I'll give an example with my two, because it's the same niche. So I can, it'll be 2021 of my content site. It had 1.5 million visitors and did 130,000 in revenue. And then the dropshipping store it was like, in this screenshot, I'm pretty sure that's like more or less 100,000 visitors. So it's a little over 10x.
Say those numbers again.
So on the content site, the revenue was 130,000 on
How many visitors?
1.5 million.
Okay.
Okay, and on the dropshipping store, it's 1.1 million revenue on basically 100,000 visitors.
Sounds like a lot more than 10x.
Well, to make a fit, well, are we truly making a fair comparison there? Because are you counting total revenue as like your affiliate revenue?
Yeah, and display ads.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the fair way to do that.
Oh, so it'd be like you're saying it should be bottom line for the dropshipping store.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think when people talk about blog sites, they often discount the expenses there as well. So I'm sure you've invested in new content, you've invested in link building, and all that stuff really, really adds up as well. So
I think part of the reason people discount it is because for so long, like if you go on a brokerage website, it's all ad backs, right? And in my head, like if I was looking at buying a blog, like those, I would push back on that really hard because you need that. You need the link building and the content especially to keep the business going.
Yeah, we were talking about this offline briefly, and I don't want to get into this too much, but yeah, so I think the key is, I think, for selling a blog site, this is what we're trying to do now, is basically spend all the stuff and then have basically 3 to 6 months where you're not touching it. So there's really no expenses at all. And then you sell it kind of at the peak, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But
trying to almost approach it like a Kindle book where, you know, you spend a bunch of money up front for a writer and then you put it out and then it kind of does its thing. Because yeah, I mean, the timing of the sale is important for any site, whether it's a dropshipping site or a blog site. But yeah, so do you want to get to some questions here? Yes.
Yeah, I would have liked. I mean, I guess there's no real point going into what we're talking about. I feel like we'd have to really add up everything.
The earnings per visitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. It's just a lot higher. Is the point I'm trying to make? It's a lot higher when you're doing it as a dropshipping site versus just doing it for display ads and affiliate commissions and stuff like that. And people throw away these earnings because they don't want to answer a phone call or something like that. When at the end of the day, if you know what you're doing, it could all be kind of outsourced and it can run semi-passively
with less risk.
Yeah,
on the dropship end.
Yes, less risk dropshipping.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So Justin said, "A." I don't know if I can put this up, Joe. I think it's got like. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can. Okay, keep Granger's face in there. Yeah, I think YouTube censored this, but I'm able to put it up. So I wonder if you can run ad campaigns on Google for toys like dildos or butt plugs. I think they would kill. Have you seen those fuck machines? Those are real high ticket. They even got a FNBJ machine.
We did a whole episode on this, Mike. We talked about this.
That's our best episode to date.
It was underappreciated, but we had a friend who, I mean, basically was in this niche. Get this off the side. I don't want to read the vulgarity. But anyway, we had a friend who was basically in this niche, and I don't know if he might still have his site, but every time we talk to him, he's trying to get out. Like he hates his life because it's crazy the types of things that happen. Like, you know, maybe a guy is getting something and he's trying to hide it from his wife. So all these, you know, he wants to shipped it to a PO box, and then the pack never went to the PO box. It's so much crazy things that he is telling us. I wouldn't want to touch it with a 10-foot, you know what.
Well, Joe, I think the episode did wound up being kind of appreciated. It has 1.7 thousand views, so it's not
okay.
It is a better performance. Out the gate, it was really bad, the views, but it seemed to pick up. So Voyage Travel, if you want to see more about this particular niche, just search Build Assets Online dolls. I think that would probably work. And Yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes of all time.
I don't know how I missed that one. I'm gonna have to go
That
back.
one we did in the studio too, so it was like really nicely edited. It was pretty funny. Matt says, "Yo," Daniel says he's got off the webinar. Well, welcome. We exist in real life. Some beast in the cut. 6%. That's tough. People talking about margins. 10% margins is pain. Blah 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 blah. Matt had a good point. You also get your customers' info when you make your own sale. Instead of just referring to X site, you get to keep all your hard-earned traffic and customers for remarketing, and you get your email list. So, what do you think about that, Granger? Do you have any experience there?
Yeah, I think at least the nature of my store, it's it like the person will buy a thing and have it and use it for like 20 years, and it's a lot of residential. So from that perspective, I think it's an uphill battle to, in my particular instance, to build an email list and sort of remarket to existing customers. But with that being said, I totally agree with Matt's point, which just being able to have customer data is obviously way better, and in some niches that's going to be extremely powerful.
Well, you don't necessarily have to be remarketing to existing customers. I kind of meant like you get to keep the cookies, right? So you could use those and remarket to them on Google, or your email list is going to build over time with people that haven't yet bought from you. And so that actually, I think, is like a really, really important thing about dropshipping. And it kind of is almost exponential, because when your email list is like 1,000 people, it doesn't really matter. It's not that big. But after a while, after a couple of years, you can get that list to like 10,000, 20,000. And once you get to that point, you could do some really, really good stuff with email. You send out just a single email. It's going to 10,000 people now, 20,000 people. It's almost always going to return sales.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not something that you could ever aspire to with just a blog site.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I'm surprised at like how well the emails generate sales. I also feel like people, this is something like I feel like boomers do, is like someone sent out an email of like a sale and like they share it on Facebook, or like they like text it to someone. I feel like that does happen more than you might think.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, maybe I'm probably just discounting that a little too much, just because I don't have the experience with it. But I will say, on one of our calls, Mike, you brought up just, hey, I'm privy, just go in and do. So I had like sequences following up with people who would do a welcome discount. And you suggested to do like a flash sale in 45 days and see what happens. And I have it targeted. So if they, are on brand ABC when they sign up, the flash sale is for that brand that they were kind of browsing for or whatever. Oh. And I've actually had a lot of, like, I've been surprised. I've had like 5 or 6 pretty monster sales off of that. That's obviously not existing customers, but yeah. I'm with you on that.
That's sick. See, one coaching call can pay some huge dividends. Mm-hmm. And you too can have a coaching call if you go to buildassetsonline.com/class, sign up for our free class, and then maybe we'll do some coaching calls together. Anyway, moving on. Good Times asked, what do you think caused him to perform so much better than your typical student? Well, I think that was covered in the whole previous 30 minutes of the podcast. But
I would say there are people doing more than me, so I'm super happy with where my store is at. But like, there's if you have a good niche and kind of have a little bit of experience that this course is building on, I mean, you can put up some monster numbers.
Yeah. And you're doing well. I wouldn't say you're performing so much better than the typical student. Like, frankly, I expect the typical student to get your results, but maybe it doesn't happen first year. Maybe it happens second year, third year. And so, again, people underestimate like if it takes you 3 years to get to $1 million in sales for your first time, that's fine, because you now have what it takes to go and just do that again. And then you make a second store, you can get to $1 million on that second store your first year. And it just, it grows so quickly, even though, you know, you're not printing money tomorrow if you have zero experience up front.
Yeah, the problem is if you give up on your first year, your first 6 months, if you're someone with no experience, that's where the problem comes in. Because Granger, before you got into this, you know, obviously you didn't have drop shipping experience, but how much time would you say you put into WordPress and like making sites on WordPress?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. I mean, it was probably a solid like 20 or 30 hours a week. I was in the platform doing things for like 2 years straight.
When did you make your first dollar online?
Back in 2017, as a FBA business selling urinal screens. Believe it or not,
urinal screens.
See, I like he's doing all the right things. Like, I love when you find these.
It gave I had this shipment of urinal screens. Like, I was living in a little condo at the time, and these big ass boxes, you know, from China, like spilling out with urinal screens. So I crammed at our front door. My wife was like so embarrassed. She's like, "We're not telling anybody about this business you're doing, all that or whatever." And it performed pretty well. Learned some good lessons. But yeah, first dollar online was in 2017, slinging urinal screens.
That sounds like something that would come out of Joe's mouth. Got the urinal screen spilling all over. Yeah, that's what people don't understand. Like, that was 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago. Yeah. And you learn so much between then and now, just from doing things. And I don't know, in my opinion, it just, when you go to do something, how real you believe it is has a very important role on your decision making. Because if you think dropshipping is bullshit, you don't really believe that you can make money online, when it comes time to like call suppliers or make the website or do the ads, you're likely to half-ass some of those steps because part of you doesn't actually believe it's going to pay off into anything.
Yeah, this is actually a topic that I've neglected for a long time, but I'm interested in exploring it more. And what I'm talking about is like the psychological effect on your performance. Like, I used to think, like, how could your belief truly dictate how well your store does or how well you do at anything? But I'm starting to think it really does have a tangible effect. I was listening to this is related to like pro gaming or something. I was listening to a guy talk about this and how he narrates in his head, and how it's just all deep rooted in psychology, and how he basically only tells himself like he's going to do this, not like don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Because like saying that he's going to do it is your head basically, if you give it like a negative, like don't do this, it's going to end up doing it. Like if I tell you like to think of like, don't think of like a pink elephant or something, like you're going to think of it. So I'm sure that that's a little bit of a tangent, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff like that at play.
I think there's something to that for sure. Like, so like if you're going into a project and thinking like, man, if I could just do 50,000 a month in sales, like there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But I think subconsciously you're gonna kind of take your foot off the gas whenever you get close or whenever you get there. And so for me, like on this store that we've been looking at earlier, like I would attribute part of the quick success to like I knew that I could make money in the niche, and I also, you know, look at what other people are doing, and I know that people are putting up, you know, 300,000 plus in revenue a month drop shipping, and so I know it's possible, and so it's just like a matter of committing to it. Yeah, and that's a different mindset than you know, having a smaller target and taking your foot off the gas once you reach it.
Yeah, and 20 to 30 hours a week in WordPress, I think, you know, even though Shopify is a totally different platform, the people that do well really fast, like yourself, they're not in the Discord asking me how to change this random thing on a menu. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just the level of, I guess, like grinding into it that you've done, you already know, like you're familiar with that process.
Yeah.
So, you're not
like, it takes 2 seconds to know whether this is something I can go in and write some simple code and fix, or I need to hire somebody and I'm not
exactly.
Googling for 45 minutes.
And I talk about that in the course, and people totally disregard it. They totally disregard. They'll ask me how to just change some stupid thing. When, you out of the gate, you have the right mindset of, all right, if I can't figure this out in 5 minutes, I'm going on Fiverr and I'm paying someone to do this.
Right.
That's how you run an online business effectively. And I'm sure that's something that you've learned. I'm sure there was times when you spent 3 or 4 hours in WordPress and realized, oh man, I'm done with this. Yeah. So I'm sure it's a lesson that you've learned that, you're now you apply.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to keep getting to the questions, but I want to ask you, what happened to the urinal screens?
Oh geez. So this all sounds so stupid, but so the private label name was Dr. Fresh, and yeah, I know, pretty creative, but yeah. So we were selling them for like a year, and then we got a cease and desist from a company that creates toothbrushes.
Oh my
God! Who had the trademark, and the operation was small enough, and we were already like kind of doing other things. So we came to an agreement with them where essentially they let us sell out of our inventory, and then we agreed to stop selling. But yeah, we had a little legal action, take it down.
Damn.
But it was kind of a weak argument. They were basically saying like, our customers might confuse the toothbrush with the urinal screen because they're both bathroom products, but it was like it would have been so expensive to fight it that
I hate when you go to brush your teeth and you accidentally just pick up the urinal screen.
I know, like what? I don't know.
Anyway, Tiva asks, Granger, are you fully able to support yourself from dropshipping?
I mean, yeah, I don't. Yes, but I would if that was like the only thing, I would wake up in a cold sweat every night. So definitely trying to. The drop shipping stuff is like a big piece of the bigger picture for me. But yeah, I think it's totally possible to support yourself drop shipping. And I also live in a big city. We've got a daughter paying for all these expenses, daycare, whatnot. And so I think if you have your expenses down, you could. It'd be a lot easier to support, full time.
What else is bringing in income for you?
So content sites, a little small FBA income, and then I know I mentioned to you, but we just bought a store that sells custom greeting cards. So that's been really busy the last couple of months transitioning that store over, and then it's kind of peak season right now. People are buying Christmas cards. So yeah, those are, it's basically like 3 bigger businesses and kind of some other projects underneath that.
Yeah. I don't really like this question because I feel like it's all about your expenses, which, that dictates how much you're able to support yourself off of your income. If you're going to live in Thailand, it's a different question than if you're in a big city with kids.
Yeah. Not that you couldn't. I mean, we supported ourselves off of dropshipping for quite a while, I'd say. But, Granger's doing everything the right way. Yeah. He's got multiple assets. He's not just the one dropshipping site. He's got content sites. He's got a little bit of FBA going. So he's like the Parthenon. Try and chop off one pillar, still standing tall. And ultimately, yeah, that's what's going to get you to being able to live anywhere you want, not just, being in Thailand and taking it easy, which nothing wrong with that. But
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Being able to support yourself is kind of a loaded question because where are you supporting yourself? Are you supporting not just yourself, but your family, kids, etc.? I think that's where a lot of the typical financial freedom, drop shipping message goes wrong, in my opinion. Too much of it is steered just towards like being able to travel and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, how could you actually do this in a way that can provide sustainable income for yourself and your family? Matt, do you think the content you guys talk about really builds the moat around your business in a competitive industry? As you know, I am in one of similar competition and looking to separate myself.
I mean, I think so for sure. I look around at like the drop shipping types, like people who've clearly taken a course and are running some ads. And almost none of them are doing drop shipping doing SEO, content kind of stuff. And I love to see that because I know in like 2 years, and I plan to hold the site for, at least a couple more years. And so my belief is that eventually that's going to pay off and other people are going to be a year or two behind.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, right? Like theoretically, someone can come and run ads for like the same keyword that you're on and cause a bit of a nuisance. Not that I think they can necessarily overtake someone with an established store, but like a good blog article that's ranking, you can't really catch up to that. So it's I think it builds a moat in just, again, you're getting your own traffic. It builds trust with the customers. It builds trust with the suppliers in your industry. And it allows you to get in with better suppliers and just, again, withstand someone trying to come in for a month and spend a whole lot of money on paid ads. And it just, it makes you look more professional, makes you look more authoritative. Mind you, I'm also not quite at the scale of ads, but I think the content and links might be a way to build value and emote against other trash sites. Yeah. I think it's a more long-term play. Obviously, things take a while before they start ranking, but we've had some stories from a couple of students who put up like 1 or 2 blog articles, and it's like after a few months, they already rank for the thing that they were going after. So, it never hurts. That's the thing. It never hurts. Is Granger there? Is he not moving or is he frozen?
Oh, he looks frozen.
Yeah, he's definitely frozen. Okay. Stone faced.
That was weird.
Yeah, he'll join back up, I'm sure, in a little bit. We'll wait for him to tune back in, see what's going on. We got Aaron here, says he's tuning in. Shoot, wanted to get to where'd he go? Byron, big ups to all the dropship daddies. BTW got a couple small land purchase agreements in this week that seem to check out. So hoping to make our first land bag before too long. That's awesome, man. Love to have you back on and discuss once you're crushing it with land. But here we go.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're good. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube separately, but you just kind of like froze in place. It just looked like you were not entertained by what we were saying. So
my bad.
No, you're good. We'll just keep rolling then. So Riley said, "Is his niche pool tables and tennis tables and such, or was that with Amazon?"
So that was my first. So I did a high ticket drop shipping store in 2018 and had a bad attitude when something bad happened and kind of gave up on it after a few months. So that was an attempt at a high ticket drop shipping store. Amazon has been the urinal screens I mentioned earlier, and then we saw a lot of kind of like pet accessories and pet memorial kind of stuff.
I want to get your opinion on FBA, and how do you think about the pros and cons of that versus drop shipping?
Versus drop shipping, the pro to me would just be like leveraging Amazon's fulfillment and the goodwill kind of their brand. I think that's obviously still a very powerful thing. But beyond that, like obviously you don't have any control over your fees. You know, you don't get any of your customer data. And then I think it's a lot more like bargain shoppers and couponing versus the high ticket stuff. Better since you have you know, a little more margin to work with. And then the last thing I would add, and kind of the reason I'm getting off of or kind of phasing off of FBA stuff, is just because the cash flow is so much worse. You know, you buy a container of something from China, and this last 18 months have been a total mess. So it's like it may not show up for 6 months, and then it's got to go to Amazon, and then you've got to sell out of it, and then before you've gotten all your money back, you've got to order a new container. And so once you've got it set up and running and you're sort of cash flow positive, it's really good, but it's a gigantic pain to get started.
Yeah, that seems like that was always the biggest mental hurdle for me, is like just the cash flow situation, because I don't know what like typical margins are for an FBA situation, but say you spend $10,000 on inventory, by the time you flip that over, what does that become? 15,000?
If you're lucky, probably more like, call it 15.
So you're spending $10,000 to make 5,000, and then you got to spend another 10,000, and it does seem very cash flow intensive versus like something like land. You spend $10,000. Number one, you don't got to worry about all these things, but it's not unrealistic to flip that into a $20,000 purchase or a $30,000 purchase. So,
yeah. The other thing too, I mean, it takes a while to, you know, see if there's product market fit. If you're private labeling something and like you kind of have your own branding, there are very few like products that I came across doing FBA where I was like, I know for sure this is gonna sell well. And a lot of it is like you kind of have to order a small quantity and test and sell, versus drop shipping. Like you can get a brand signed up and send a couple $100 of ads in a month or two, and like if you don't have any add to carts, for example, or you can kind of get a better sense quickly of whether or not something's going to work, and just move on if it's not going to work.
Exactly. You spend 1,000 in ads. What does that bring back? Like that, I have to look at our numbers, right? But like every $1,000 we spend on ads brings back, you know, surely $2,000 plus.
Yeah.
So just like the return on the money going out is a lot better, because we're not, you know, paying for the inventory until it's already purchased. But, you know, the one good thing about FBA is I feel like sellability and multiple is probably like the highest of anything else, because you have, you know, the aggregators.
Well, I don't know. I feel like so private equity people kind of understand. You know, they're just a little more comfortable with Amazon, I feel like, on some level too.
Exactly. Have you ever thought of doing something a little more high ticket, like combining everything, having a content site and a product that, you know, is high ticket enough you could sell it on your own website and also have it on Amazon? And you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's you know, that's a path of sort of evolution I could take for sure, because you know, the skills, like we've been talking about, the skills kind of stack on each other, and that would be awesome. I mean, that's kind of the ultimate goal, right? I mean, you think about how defensible or like how much of a moat would be around a business like that. That'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that really would be the only way we'd consider getting into something like that. It'd have to combine all the principles that we already know work.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's also less people doing things on Amazon that for like $200 plus. So less competition, just more margin to run ads.
For me, no China. China's out.
No China either.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, North America for sure. It's just, there's just too much. I don't know. In my experience, there's just too much that can go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they're swabbing cabbages for for the respiratory illness.
Right.
Where are we here?
Yeah, I think a lot of the FBA courses kind of tell you to shoot for this like $30 to $50 price range, and I think there's space to, like you said, do $200 or more, and obviously that gives you a little more flexibility.
And I think you have to take in, like, it's easier to sell out, right? Like,
yeah,
less MOQ maybe, but yeah. Daniel said, would you say someone with more capital will see results quicker because they can spend more on ads quicker to collect data? So I want to make a point here. The answer is yes, if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and you just throw a whole bunch of money at the situation, you're just going to lose a whole bunch of money. So it's always skills before bills. Do what you have to do to acquire the skills first in a way that's not going to break the bank for you. And once you actually know what you're doing, then yeah, throw more money into the situation because the odds of it becoming successful are a lot higher. So if you need results tomorrow, but you have no idea what the hell you're doing, then throwing a bunch of money at it isn't really going to make it more effective. There's only one way to get to the results you want long term, and that's actually becoming an expert at it. So. Case by Casey said, I'm a college student just starting out with dropshipping. Budget is a bit tight for ad spend. Any recommendations? What do you guys have to say?
I mean, the beauty of the high ticket dropshipping is like if you're on good suppliers, like you're gonna get that return to you pretty quick. And so if you start slow and are patient,
yeah,
it's one of the better ways to get started on a tighter budget.
Absolutely. Sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on behind me, if you guys can hear that, but yeah, I mean, you should be making money before you spend your first $300 on ads. You should be making sales with that ad account, that $300. So if you can't lose $1,000 on ads, then you probably need to do something else to like get a bigger cushion, because really it should not take a lot of ads budget to make a good amount of sales. $1,000 is $30 a day with ads, and I don't even think you have to spend that much. Start out with $20 a day. That'll give you enough money to run ads for over a month. And like I said, if you're not producing results with that, then it's something you're doing wrong. It's not I don't know. It's not anything else. Tiva said, gents, do you know of anyone who took their store to a new level and opened a physical location outside of Wayfair?
No.
Yeah, no. Why? Why would you? I mean, you could do FBA, you could warehouse some products, but I don't know.
It's even though it's the same product, it's just two totally different business models. And I don't have any interest in I don't know anyone who has interest in opening.
You're taking away all like the good parts of
the
business model.
I mean, also like you've mastered at that point, if you have a successful store, you've mastered Google Ads, you've mastered SEO. So just do more of that. Don't open another set of things that you need to learn.
Exactly. Also with Google Ads, web design, SEO, etc., what's the most important skill to focus on in the beginning?
I really want to say the web design, because I think while it's not that difficult, I think it's something that once you can do it, everything else can fall into place. Like everything else, I think is more, I don't know. I feel like people get hung up on it a lot. And
what about it?
Like people asking me questions about like how to do certain menus or tweak this or that or whatever. But once you know how to throw up a site like Granger does, or like I do, it just takes 2 seconds. And I feel like once you could throw up a site in 2 seconds, there's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I would obviously think like Google Ads would be important, but I don't think you like. There's only so much you could focus on, I'd say, with any of these things, because you have to just give it time to develop. Like if you're running ads, you can't You need the data to come in, you need the sales to come in. All of these things take time. So
Yeah, I think the web stuff is like allows you to, once you master it, you can actually like move quickly.
yeah,
Everything else is kind of like a slow thing anyway.
Yeah. Largest source of income or largest source of income for you in the future, Granger?
Honestly, it's a pretty even pie right now between high ticket drop shipping, this store we just bought, and the content sites and the FBA stuff, which is how I like it.
How much did you pay for the what you just bought?
So it had an earnout on it that we're still not, so don't have an exact number, but it'll end up being around 250.
Okay, it seems like a really, I mean, so talk about web design. I was just checking it out, and it seems like something, you know, I couldn't put this together. Like it seems
Cool.
like it's
that was part of the reason we bought it. So it's 18 years old and has a 50% repeat order rate, and yeah, it just kind of feels like you're not going to have too many people trying to start from scratch and come take market share.
yeah. It seemed hard to execute all this.
Yeah.
Seems very proprietary. Joe, Mike, do you think I'll be able to quit my job in a year if I work hard and make 100K in sales my first year? 100K in sales is like not a lot. That's like 8,000 a month in sales, right? So I don't think unless you're living in Thailand, mate, that's probably not going to be enough. But it's all about how much experience you have and how well you execute on the information. So I think you can do 100,000 in sales your first year pretty easily, but enough to quit your job. It depends on how much you need to make to quit your job. So I don't know, but if you want the best chance of doing so, go to buildassetsonline.com/class and learn how we create a portfolio of websites worth 7 figures and how you can do the same thing. We reveal some of our own products on there, so it'll be a good listen for you. Good watch. Boy, Waylon, Granger, between the content sites and the store, do you do any of the SEO yourself or do you outsource all of it?
So I do keyword research for content still, because I think that's still a pretty high leverage thing. We have a full-time employee who does link outreach now. So Haro and link insertions and guest post outreach, and then outsource a lot of like guest post writing. We outsource. The only actual like nitty gritty stuff I still do is internal linking on like product and collection pages, and then some collection page writing, because I don't want that stuff to be suboptimal.
Cool. Daniel, is having a phone number on the store a necessity? Yes.
You don't have to answer it, but there has to be one on there.
Yeah.
You should answer. Someone should answer, but yeah.
Almost done here. Case by case says book recommendations for e-commerce, Google Ads, etc. No.
There's no books.
No books. Just do. The thing is with books are like high, like 10,000 foot view type of shit, where it's like you're not going to read a book and then know how to like do something. Books can impact like your mental framework or things of that nature, but it's like if you want to learn how to, replace a tire or whatever, change a tire, you're not going to go and like buy a book on it. You're just going to like look up a YouTube video or look up something that's how to change a tire. And then you get a step-by-step plan. Books will never provide step-by-step action plans to get you where you want to go. So you can read books to get ideas about shit. to get good mental clarity about certain things. But when it comes time to actually doing something, whether it's, an affiliate business, a content site, dropshipping, you have to consume content, buy a course. That's a step-by-step plan on how to implement that exact thing, which you can learn if you go to buildassetsonline.com/class. Anyway, last question here. Riley said, oh, this is not a question. He said his website's almost ready to go online, or her. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
all right, time to call it.
We did it, Granger.
We did it.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're very impressed with your results, and you're an exemplary student for, following the Build Assets Online way. You got multiple sources of income. You got a dropshipping site doing well. You're leveraging all these things together. So we're glad to have you as a member. We're glad to have you on this show. And maybe in a year we'll check back and see what you got going on. Hopefully it's 10x.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
All right, guys. All right. Thanks for tuning in. buildassetsonline.com/class. Come and learn how we create a portfolio of websites. And until next time, take it easy.